Hello and welcome to FPS Coach. My name is Rambo, and in this video I want to do a little deeper dive talking about some of the things I mentioned in the how to aim FPS mechanics video I made. And I mentioned how important it was to be able to set up in your ready position the same way every time. So that includes your hand grip, how you hold the mouse, the forearm placement on the mouse pad, the elbow angle, the height of your chair, how high and how low, how close your stomach is to the table. All those physical body alignments is absolutely crucial in the first step of being able to be a top-notch aimer. Because if you're not able to set up to your mouse the same way every time, it's going to change all the feels, and it doesn't matter which sensitivity you use because it's going to feel different every time because you're constantly changing how you're setting up to the mouse. I also talked about in that video how important it was to establish and get familiar with your pivot. And the pivot was the pressure point in your aiming arm to the table. So for instance, a pressure point or a pivot point would be the table crossing underneath my forearm, and that pressure there would be my pivot. So now this range of motion is very consistent, and my minimum and maximum range is set because my pivot's always the same, right? So, or my pivot point could be further on the table with more of my forearm on the table, or some people like to play really wristy, so they have barely any forearm. So with that pivot point always in the same spot, you're able to control the mouse left and right the same way every time, and that really helps with consistency and feel. And the last piece that I want to mention from that video is the waggle. And a waggle is a common terminology used in golf when a golfer places their hand on the grip and they're fidgeting and wiggling and moving their hand on the grip until their hand locks onto place. So because our only point of contact from our body to the mouse is in the hands, it's absolutely crucial that we are able to waggle and find that hand connection until our hand locks into place and with the same grip every time, which gives us consistency. So those are the three pieces that I want to bring up from that first video. Now, once you're able to repeat all three of those things consistently the same way every time, now you have a foundation of mechanics that you can build your muscle memory. And that's when you can go in the game and really fine-tuning a sensitivity that matches your mechanics. So when finding a sensitivity, there's two important things to keep in mind. One is what I just mentioned, being able to be consistent to build your muscle memory because you're able to set up to this mouse same way every time. The second important thing is whatever game you play, there's a certain style to it, or there's certain classes, or there's a certain pace to it that'll help you determine which sensitivity is going to match you. So for instance, like Counter-Strike, there's not too much vertical movement compared to like Fortnite and Overwatch, where you've got to be able to look in any direction and any verticality as well. So Counter-Strike is a little bit more lenient that way, but since there's potential for one shot, one kill, your crosshair placement has to be really exact, and you've got to be able to aim within a few pixels. So there's a lot of what I've called tracing involved, where you're making little tracing adjustments. So like right now, I'm tracing my crosshair around a model. So I've got to be able to have that fine pixel adjustments right here to realign my crosshair. And then the second type of aiming motion that you need for any FPS game is what I call flicking. So flicking is, just flicking your crosshair from one point to another. And that could be up, down, left, right, and it could be behind you or whatever. Just any direction where you have to quickly flick. So when I flick, right there I was a little bit off. Then I have to compensate with tracing when I have to trace right back a little bit. So these little tracing movements. And then the third type of aiming motion is what I call smoothing, or it could be tracking, or it could be hit scan. So in Counter-Strike, how this is applied is when you're uncovering an angle, your crosshair is tracking the edge smoothly against the wall. Or say in Overwatch, you're a soldier class and you've just got to keep your crosshair on a moving target. So you're tracking a target. And I think all the best FPS gamers in the world have mechanics and a sensitivity that allows them to do all three of those types of aiming motions. I also mentioned in that first video how I believe if you have an understanding of your personal mechanics and your strengths and weaknesses and your personal feels of how to control a mouse, you can transfer those abilities into any FPS game. So for example, if you see, Shroud, any FPS game he plays, because he has such strong understanding of his mechanics and he's able to repeat his same positions and he's able to find a sensitivity that works for him in any game. And that's because he's able to set up in his ready position every time. So hopefully these tips help you guys in some way. I know how much fun it is to have good aim in FPS games. It is like the holy grail to be able to just pop off and have full control of your crosshair. So if you're having issues with your sensitivity and your mechanics, I'd highly recommend trying to implement some of these drills and keeping some of these things that I said in mind, because for me, I feel like that's what I've learned through my years of playing in professional play and things that I've noticed in other pros. So thanks for watching, like the video, and subscribe to stay up to date. Thanks.